and started writing a list. This book, Gangster's Paradise, was born from that list, but it's probably worth going backwards to give new readers a bit of background. I'm a journalist for the New Zealand Herald. I spend a lot of time writing about organised crime, drugs, guns, gangs, and money. Lots of money. Back in March 2009, a source tipped me off about a case being heard in the High Court that morning. A significant methamphetamine dealer was being sent to prison, likely for a very long time, and the source hinted that the case involved some very interesting details. I had never written about methamphetamine or organised crime before. What I heard in the courtroom that day was fascinating. The guy in the dock was a geeky-looking Chinese man with a cool nickname, Four-Eyed Dragon. The amounts of money he'd made through selling meth were staggering. There were no other reporters in the courtroom, and I couldn't quite believe my luck as I walked back to the office with the facts of the scoop scribbled down on my notebook. It was my first front-page story for the paper, a splash in the Saturday edition, which exposed how Asian crime syndicates were laundering millions of dollars in drug profits through Auckland's Sky City casino. It was my entree into New Zealand's growing obsession with methamphetamine and the colourful characters who inhabit the criminal underworld. Reporting on that hidden world was addictive. I was hooked. Since then, I've had a front-row seat at one of the most gripping true crime dramas ever to hit the country. Gangland, New Zealand's underworld of organised crime, was an attempt to illustrate the subtle shifts in the multi-million-dollar enterprise of organised methamphetamine trafficking and the investigative techniques employed by the police in response over the previous 20 years. Organised crime in New Zealand is a global business now. If Gangland was about evolution, then Gangster's Paradise is about escalation. In my view, the escalation of organised crime in New Zealand, more drugs, more shootings, more corruption, has been driven by the arrival of gangs as 501 deportees from Australia. The likes of the Mongols and Comancheros in particular have brought a more professional edge to the gang scene. They have better connections with international drug syndicates, better criminal tradecraft, and encrypted communications, and are more willing to use firearms to enforce their will. In turn, the established gangs, such as the headhunters who were so dominant for many years, have had to up their game in response. Escalation. The police have had to up their game too, especially the National Organised Crime Group. For years, detectives in these ring-fenced squads, or their predecessors, have been engaged in a game of cat-and-mouse with gangs and crime syndicates, and their task has been made increasingly difficult in recent years with the widespread use of encrypted communications devices. In turn, the police have been forced to find innovative new ways of gathering evidence and working with their international partners, such as the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI in the United States, and the Australian Federal Police, AFP. Escalation. A gang which took over a small rural town, a police officer who was shot and killed in a routine traffic stop, a port worker who helped a gang whisk a shipping container off a wharf in the middle of the night, a crew of corrupt baggage handlers smuggling meth into the country during COVID lockdowns, a gang shooting inside a 5-star hotel in broad daylight, a gang member born in New Zealand who allegedly became one of the biggest drug dealers in the world. Escalation. My aim in telling these stories in Gangster's Paradise is to make it bigger, better, and more badass than the original, largely because the crimes as reported in these stories are bigger and more badass. What follows is a portrait of organised crime in New Zealand right now. Chapter 1. Rock-hard evidence. The Kiwi connection to Asia's El Chapo. It's fair to say that fear and loathing lie behind the way the general...